throwing acid, that person will not be with another one.
Mm-hmm.
And by throwing the rats to Julia, that wouldn't happen to him. I think his relationship is having the same kind of feeling, like selfishness, I think.
Okay, so I need you to go a little bit deeper, just a little bit, people. And let's talk about these relationships in which people hurt you. Like, I'm gonna punch you and I'm gonna pinch you and I'm gonna slap you and I love you, please forgive me. Make that connection. One more time. If the people who were torturing Winston realized by this one gesture that Winston was over Julia completely, because he offered her to be tortured. And that was what they used to understand that, oh, finally, he doesn't have any feelings for Julia. What does this tell us about relationships in which there is physical and verbal abuse? And people say, oh, but he loves me. Oh, I love her. Oh, forgive me. Make that connection. Go. Now, let me make it simpler. Is it possible to physically and emotionally hurt a person and still say that you love that person or that that person loves you? People, this is really simple. This is not multiple choice. I mean, there's only one right answer. What's the correct answer?
Yes, it could happen.
It's possible for somebody to physically hurt you and still say they love you?
Well, yeah, they may not feel it, but they might say it. It's a difference.
Okay, so is that really love?
No.
And you have to be extremely clear on this, because this is what society wants you to believe, even in the movies and the novelas and the books, and even some songs, the lyrics of some songs, they want you to believe that if somebody loves you, it's okay if sometimes they get really angry and hit you. No, it's not okay. It's never okay. Because when you love somebody, you don't want to hurt that person. Ever, never, no, you don't. So somebody slapping you and then saying, oops, sorry, oops, no. And when I say somebody, I'm referring to both boys and girls, because you girls know a lot of you love to be slapping people and pretending it's okay because you're a girl. It's not, okay? So people who love you will not physically hurt you, never. Mm-mm. So this whole idea like, I'm gonna forgive him, he didn't mean it, he's not gonna do it again, or she didn't mean it. The person hit you, the person does not love you, end of story. Don't try to analyze it. So when Winston finally screamed out, he saw them coming with this cage of big rats, and he screamed out and said, no, 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 do it to Julia. That is how they understood that he was, he had finally given up on Julia. He no longer had any deep loving feelings for Julia, and they had finally won him over, meaning that they could control his mind. After that, he's let out of prison, and he completely broken man, sits in a cafe. He listens to the weird news, and he starts developing feelings of love for Big Brother. And he says, oh, I love Big Brother. And then he meets Julia, and they have a conversation, and both of them realize that there's nothing there, zero feelings. So we know what Winston did. We don't know what Julia did, but they got the same results. Both of them had completely stopped loving each other. And people, I cannot emphasize this enough, because I've been seeing this nonsense a lot lately. People who push you, punch you, pinch you, spit on you, slap you, insult you, do not love you. Don't get confused. No. Even if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend who's trying to control how you dress or how you look, that's not love. That's not love, that's abuse. And do not get confused. I'm not saying that the book is the perfect example, no, but it just goes to illustrate that it is true that if you do love somebody, you do not wish them any kind of pain, okay? No matter how much pain you are in, you're not gonna wish that person any kind of pain. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to watch the summary of the last part of the book. In your module 3 that's coming out within the next few days, you are going to be given the link of the movie, the movie that comes closest to the book. You're going to watch that and you're going to analyze the entire movie. It's only like 1 hour long, so don't fret. Okay, but let's look at this and then we're going to continue. Where have we seen little snippets of this within the last 6 months? Yes. Have we seen ways in which the government tries to control people's mind within the last 6 months?
I don't know if this has to do, but I think like by the news, you know, the TV news. I think that what they told us or what they want to make us believe is not like the whole story, you know. It's because something I found interesting is that like in 2 days the cases were like going up like super fast, and we were like, my family was like, that really happens like to one day to another, or was it like they were hiding those cases and then one day they just decided to bring it out or something like that, you know? And I don't believe truly in the news, you know? So I guess that's one way, probably.
Okay, sure. What about what's going on with education right here in Panama and around the world actually, but we don't care about the world, we live here. Tell me about education. Have you seen ways in which the government is not interested in education? Go, talk, tell me, spit it out. Let me hear it.
By not updating their information. They have like a lot of books with information that's super old or it's not up to date.
Yeah, but you're going like way general. Let's talk about the last 6 months.
Okay. Not giving funding to some schools or
Okay.
resources to them.
Mm-hmm.
Since why bother when they're not the rich kids? So why bother?
Mm-hmm.
That's the main idea the government has for schools. They just want to pay for the rich because those are the ones that are going to be their puppets tomorrow.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Let's go back in 2020 history. 2020 has been quite an interesting year. Very interesting. So school started in March, and then suddenly no more school. And they told people, oh, just wait a few weeks, it's gonna pass. And then a lot of people believe that, and they just, it's gonna pass. And the days and turned into weeks and then months. And a whole lot of schools who are very obedient stopped classes because it's gonna pass. And they kept coming up with these dates. Oh, we're gonna start back at the end of March. Oh, it's gonna be in June. Oh, it's gonna, they just kept coming up with these dates, and a whole bunch of schools, because hundreds of them closed waiting for the new date. And then they said, oh, we're gonna start in July, but it's gonna continue until February. And everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then suddenly they said, oh, we're gonna start in July and finish in December. So March, April, May, June, 4 months of no classes, and you're gonna finish in December, and you get recess, like a week of vacation, when you already had 4 months of vacation. And you expect people to learn in 5 months what they usually learn in 9 months. What's happening here? Oh, let's go back a little bit further. When they started saying, okay, so we're gonna allow the schools that have a plataforma virtual to continue, and they came up with this long list of requirements that the government schools don't have, and they were like demanding, no, you have to have this. If you don't have this, you're gonna close. We have to close. And they started shutting down schools, and people were literally fighting both parents, teachers, and school administrators fighting to keep schools open, like really fighting. And they were just shutting down schools all over. And then suddenly we realized that they didn't have the equipment that they were demanding from everybody else, and that they actually did not want 2020 to be a school year. It sounds ridiculous, but who gains when stuff like this happen? When the 90%, let's not say 90, 75% of the young people in a country do not have a school year. Who benefits?
In the long run.
Government.
Oh, yeah.
And so schools are going to restart on July 20th. And already there are almost 200 private schools that cannot reopen. What's going to happen to those kids? Who cares? What's going to happen to all of those kids in those 200 schools, 200 private schools? And what about all the kids in public schools that have no internet access? So that's a whole bunch of people. What's going to happen to 8,000 kids in 2020? What's going to happen?
They're going to repeat the year. They will miss a year. I important the year because every year is important. They will be dumb in the future. They will be controlled, period. Okay.
Most of them will be out of school. Like there was currently the amount of students that were I think is called the certain school. Well, and I think that number was
dropping out of school.
They were dropping out of school, and now I think that number will duplicate or will be greater because of that.
And are these kids who are dropping out of school going to get jobs? Because if you drop out of school and open a huge business, but are they even going to get any kind of jobs? So what's going to happen in about 5 years?
My predictions for the next 5 years are that, well, first of all, people are just going to have low income because jobs are going to be like, well, I don't have money, so I'm not going to pay you. And that's what's happening right now. Like, I'm not getting money, so I'm not giving money anyways. So first it's going to happen. Then people are going to go to the banks, ask for loans. Then everybody will be just in debt, like permanently. And then we'll have like another like, because people need to pay their homes, right? And so people will make really bad investments for the future. Like, oh, this house right now is like $4, and you buy it, but when you see like the price for the next 5 years or the next 10 years, it's gonna be like $2 million, and that's just all your organs right there.
Yeah. So it's going to be really messed up. And this is something that could have been avoided. And the fact that it's not possible that nobody in the whole country had enough common sense to figure this out, it just shows that it was probably done deliberately. Because the dumber you are, the easier you are to control. Dumb people are really easy to control. I mean, you go out and you give them a 6-pack of beer and they vote for you. So it's really easy to control. So how can this be fixed, ladies and gentlemen? How can you fix this? What are some things that you can do to fix this?
Anarchy. We just go straight to the anarchy. It's faster.
Other ideas? It's gonna be up to you. You know this. In 5 years, you're gonna be the adults dealing with all of these issues. Some of you are already adults, and some of you are gonna be adults next year, and some of you this year. So these are the issues that they're gonna fall on your plate. What can you individually do to fix some of this or to make it better?
I mean, the damage is already done. The people now will be that people in the future. I mean, I think that the things that we can do is to teach our kids a good education, so it will be a good impact in their future. Because it's hard to change people now. But I think that's what we could do.
Okay, anybody else? What can you do? You as an individual, what can you do?
Maybe, offer not free classes, but like $10 classes about English or something else, because in that way you're like teaching. I don't know, you can be teaching to 10 people, but that's enough, because if you don't teach anyone, that would be very crazy for the future.
Okay,
I understand. So
I
if,
understand.
if I am an adult right now, I would be offering English or art class or important things, science things. And even though if I'm like, I don't need too much money or I need it, I will be doing it anyways.
Okay, so that's a second idea. One more person.
I think that,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, like expressing our by the disagreement by the social media, because that creates like that
Pressure.
tema de conversación.
It opens the conversation.
It opens the conversation, and people it's going to start questioning the government and what Meduca is doing with the education of the future, because kids are the future.
Well, kids aren't the future, kids are the present. You're all alive right now, you're the present. That's a good one. Okay, people, one of the biggest and most important things that you can do is to simply not become one of them. Not become one of them. And by them, I mean the corrupt politicians, the adults making stupid decisions, and the kids dropping out of school. Don't become one of them. That's the best thing that you can do, because if you stop to really think about it, to think about Panama is a really small country, and that a huge percentage of the young people are going to drop out of school or simply not learn what they're supposed to learn and have basically no hope. That's really painful. Okay, so, and all of this because of a few dumb decisions some adults made, selfish dumb decisions. So if you are able to simply not become another one of them, not become another problem, that would be huge. And yes, it's good if you're that type of person to express your opinion on social media. It's good. I watched a documentary yesterday, no, the day before, about a little boy who's 13 years old who is running to be the governor of Vermont. Vermont, a state in the United States. 13 years old. And I was watching it, I'm like, okay, this kid, But some of the things that he was saying made a lot of sense. And one thing that he said is that if we, the kids, don't get involved in politics, it's gonna continue being exactly the same thing. So we need to get involved, and even if we don't have the maturity yet, we need to let people hear what we have to say. And when the documentary finishes, like 15 minutes long, I was like, okay, if I could, I would vote for this kid. Because yeah, he's a kid and he's playing video games and he looks kind of like, how teenagers look like. But what he was saying is actually true. We need to get involved. We need to let people hear our voice, because if we don't, then the same things are going to continue happening over and over again. Now, this is not for everybody. Not everybody should start posting stuff. No. If this is something that you're interested in, then do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're too young. Ay, que vas a saber tú? No. Don't let anybody tell you that. You have the right and the duty to try to make the world that you're going to inherit a much better place. And what's happening in education is like they're not really interested in the well-being and the future of the youth. They're not interested. Because if they were from the very beginning, they would have taken better decisions. And the second thing that's really interesting is while the public school teachers were on vacation, because after March, most of them had nothing to do, they got a $300 raise. What? How can you give a $300 raise to people who are just sitting at home waiting for, and the private school teachers who were working basically making peanuts because a lot of parents lost their income and couldn't pay. The private school teachers are working and getting no money, and the public school teachers getting a $300 raise during a pandemic. And I don't know if you heard about the rectora in Chiriquí who gave herself a raise and now makes more than the president. What? It doesn't make any sense. But if we don't stop it, if we don't say, if we don't write or speak, it's going to continue. It's not fair and it's going to continue. To tell kids that now everything is going to be with the plataforma, public school kids, and they don't even have internet at home, is like slapping them. Because the first thing they should have done is let's make sure everybody in this country gets internet, and then we can talk about plataforma. But to get up talking about plataforma estrella and half of the kids don't have internet, that's an insult. They're not really interested in educating those kids. Because if you are poor, you have more, you are more prone to be manipulated by the government. Because you just have to wait for them to bring you a bolsa de comida, and then, they manipulate you. Governments manipulate the poor and the dumb. And so, ladies and gentlemen, all the things that were written in this 1984 book, which was written in 1949, were not just this man's crazy ideas, but a lot of the stuff that he mentions here are actually happening. Maybe not to the wide scale that he mentions it in the book, but they're actually happening. And in order for this to stop, it's gonna take people like you and people like me to start talking and stop becoming victims of the government's bad decisions, okay? So, like I said, we're gonna end this early because I'm hungry. Like I said, we finished the book, we finished 1984. There's one last assignment in module 3, which is to watch the movie and analyze that. And we're gonna continue with the next book, The Stranger. I think you have that link, it was in your, if you don't, just type in free PDF, The Stranger by Albert Camus, and we're gonna start reading that book in our next class. Those of you who have not given me Café Shiros yet, what are you waiting for? And like I said, Adrian, Nassim, and Rebecca, please send me the link again. Make sure you don't delete the extension .mp4 or mp3 or .awr, AMR, whatever. Don't delete that. You don't really have to write your name on the file because when you upload it, it uploads with your name. So you don't have to erase anything. Even if it says poo-poo, whatever, just upload it like that so you don't delete it. Okay, do you have any questions? Okay, there's somebody's little sister or brother. I can't see. Okay, that's fun. Do you have any questions? Okay, so see you next time, and I hope to hear from you with your Café Shiros documentary. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.